Now, a lot of you guys are aware that I've been chasing this bike for about a year and a half. I was contacted through my videos by the owner's family. The uncle, it turns out, according to the oral history, bought it new. Brother got it in the 60s, brought it home. His son was all excited. He's 59 now, so he's 4 years older than me. And always wanted the bike, and ended up getting it from the family estate sale. The oral history varies. First time he told me it was about 1980. I went and saw this bike, which I posted the video. At that meeting, he told me it was about 1994. So the oral history varies as to when this transpired, and the exact amount changed, but somewhere between 1,800 and $3,000 he was able to buy it from the estate. And I went there just to see the bike, hoping to be able to make a video. They were allowed me to see the bike and make a video and get some photos. Unfortunately for me, when I walked in the door, they were ready to sell it after it not being for sale all these years, and I was not in a position to buy the bike at all. And they asked me what it was worth, and I said, well, without the invoice, as it turns out, the invoice is also in the back of Palmer's, which I just found out on the last Long Beach swap meet. I had no idea because I haven't read the whole book. There's two invoices in Palmer's. This is one of them, which I did not realize. But they contacted me through the videos. They didn't contact Palmer. They contacted me. At least I don't know if they contacted Palmer. Nobody said anything about that. But that's how I found out about it. Most importantly, is because of the videos I put on YouTube. So in this instance, it relates to how did I find out about it. And I told him what it was worth. I said, without the invoice, it's really, really rough. Nobody in the right mind is going to believe this is an original paint bike because it's such a weird paint. With the invoice, it doubles the price. Again, my opinion. I said it's $35 to $50 without the invoice, and you can double that with the invoice. So I offered $50. The reason why I offered $50 was because I had various people severely interested in Mr. Bill, and I figured I could come up with the money by a phone call or two and borrow the money, and hey, I'll pay you back. I don't want to offer anybody money that I know I can't have a very likelihood of coming up. I'm not going to dump one of these other motorcycles just for stupid money just to try and get that. That's crazy. So anyhow, that was why I offered $50. And I proceeded to go to Wasion. I made no secret that I'd seen the bike. Here's some photos to anybody I knew that was a knuckle enthusiast. It turns out the current owner, his name's Lee, which I found out last night through a friend of mine through Instagram, who I didn't ask, she just blurted it out. And instant messages his last name. We'll keep that private because the man wants to be anonymous, and I understand through various other parties he has a fair amount of original paint knuckleheads he doesn't want anybody to know about. But his name's Lee. He bought this famous bike due to it being in the back of Palmer's, one of two invoices, and the videos I have done. I would consider this a famous knucklehead. Not quite the stature of Greenie, but certainly the only other famous knucklehead original paint I know of. And ultra, ultra special. There's all kinds of custom paint knuckleheads here and there. But for the boys that are into this, that know the original paint, but this is the only one that has yet surfaced that the invoice is knowingly around. There's lots of other invoices nobody's ever looked at, nobody's ever read, buried in big collections. But I'm the only one that's taken the time and the effort, and therefore the money, to blab it to the world. Here's an invoice, here's an invoice, here's an invoice, here's an invoice. And that's how the man found me. He found me off the Harry Molenaar video I did, and then started looking through the videos and found an invoice on a red and cream bike. It's like, he told me, he's like, oh my God, I got one of them. Those are similar to my numbers. Oh my God, I've got that bike. So when I get there, the man's got all his documents he got with the bike on the table, and nobody presents their documents on the table unless you're ready to sell. I already knew he was ready to sell. It's like, oh my God, I've got no money. Oh my God, I'm going to lose this bike. So after I left, it turns out that they had talked and decided to find a local buyer. They did not want me to have the motorcycle. So they or a family member contacted a Harley Davidson dealer. I was there on Monday, so I assumed this was probably Tuesday, who placed a call to this man Lee, who I found out through my friend, last night that he left Waseon early to go chase his bike. Now, if I knew Lee, he would have been, and I knew that he was into this stuff, he would have been one of the people I would have shown this photograph to. Made no secret, I was after this bike. But they did not want me to have it, so I didn't get it, plain and simple. Now, I understand that Lee paid a substantial amount more than my $50,000 offer. They did not contact me and say, hey, we offer this much money, you want to meet it or beat it. No word was mentioned. I sent them a text. I made 3 calls. Finally, the next morning, they sent me a text and said, well, we decided to sell it to a local guy. So that was that. So I sent him a text later, and I said, thank you for allowing me to video this machine. If it wasn't for them contacting me and allowing me to video this machine, we would have gone into another dark pocket, and nobody in the world would know that this bike still exists. So we all have to be very grateful that they allowed me over to take the videos and pictures, which are on my phone. I have to get a cord to get them off my phone so I can post the pictures. I will do so. This is Facebook. This discussion here is on the Facebook Knucklehead group, this group right here. Let me get a close-up of that, and you can see the discussion for anybody who is interested of what is going on and the wild accusations of so forth that Matt McManus is. There's the group right there who is making in my responses. So if you're interested, you can get in there and partake in the conversation or just read it. No need to make a video when it's open on another internet channel. And that is what happened with that bike. That's why I don't have it. Lee got the call, Lee stood tall, and he went and got it. And I did not get the call. Simple as that. So it's a shame. I was hoping to bring this out and show it at the meets and with the copy of the invoice, which is what I told him I wanted to do. That is my only interest in this bike. It's a very, very rough original paint that was stored and cared for improperly. It is at least as rough as Jade and probably much rougher. My 41FL, the two-tone green. But it's such a cool custom order, and the invoice does exist. And it's 41FL3091. You can see the video of the invoice. So, but I have the original paper. And before I sign off, if you go into the discussion, when I let me make sure this is in focus here. Hold on a second. I don't have anybody but me here. Yep, there we go. So, when I made my calls, because Lee wants to remain anonymous. Well, I don't know of another Lee that's into knuckles that has a big collection. So there's a lot of people who know who Lee is. Now they are all going to know that Lee got this bike. I found out because I got an email from Emmanuel Pfister saying, hey man, that red and cream you showed me, we were having a discussion on paint, and he was here looking at Mr. Bill, just got sold to this guy Lee. That's how I found out. Nobody else told me but Emmanuel. So I made some calls to find out who this Lee guy was, and was told he was a very private, introverted individual. He doesn't want anybody to know that he's got all these knuckleheads. No, he's a 9-to-5er, working guy. He's not wealthy. Don't think of him as a wealthy guy. He's not. I'm not wealthy either. I'm just lucky to have a couple of stupid ass bikes. So, anyhow, through someone who I know through the conversations knew Lee himself and had his phone number, I says, hey, through a couple other people said they knew him, they'd seen him at a meet. I said, hey, Lee wants to keep this anonymous before I make this video, the one I'm making right now. This is the most I can come up with. This is what I offer the people. I'd be happy to buy it for $50,000 and no harm, no foul. I won't mention his name. Or you can buy my invoice for 50 grand. The invoice to me is worth that. This is what I told the individual, the owners. The invoice doubles the value of the spike, the actual real paper. It does. Well, there's a picture in the back of Palmer's. It's like, well, as people have told me lots of times, all them invoices you got are fake. Well, guess what? Paper can be dated. It can be proven. That invoice concretely proves that that is an original paint bike. Because anybody else without that invoice is going to say, well, man, they just sprayed it at the time, even if you date the photo. And it's an obvious repaint. It was repainted at the factory. It's very clear on the invoice that if you understand what's going on with the invoices, that's what happened. It got taken back apart, it was leaving and resprayed at the factory to that custom color. So it's very important that it's factory done and not some dealer paint job for the valuation of the motorcycle. And more importantly, I've got a whole bunch of custom, original pre-war bikes, custom paint. That invoice is the coolest custom invoice in my whole pile that I've got, and that concretely proves that this stuff was done. I've got the paper, so to me, it adds value to my machines, and it's my paper. Some of the guys said, "Oh, you should give it to him." It's like, nobody gave me fucking shit, pal. I don't even know this guy, and he won't even get me on the phone. Why the fuck should I give him some of my stuff? Just because? It's like, well, some of these guys are loaded in this group. Really loaded. There were tens of millions of dollars. You want me to have that invoice so bad? You fucking buy it and give it to him as a present. You know, I'm toasted broke. I just sold the motor out of my 47FL, Mr. Bill. Motor and training's gone, man. Just so I can pay bills. That's how fucking broke I am. You want me to give him that piece of paper? It's like, fuck you. Fuck you. Ain't gonna happen. So that's the story. That's what happened. And the discussion with the manual, which is important, as you see clearly here, the paint is peeling. And the manual says, "Wow, that can't be original paint. It's peeling." When we were discussing my 46, which incidentally, this bike was stored for decades in Kentucky, and my 46 came out of Kentucky. And climatic changes in the smog affect how paint interacts over the decades and what it looks like today. So they both came from Kentucky. So, or at least were there for an extended period of time. So that's how I showed Emmanuel the photo of this bike. It's like, well, look at this thing. This thing's original paint, and I got the invoice, so I guess it does peel, huh? So that's that. I bear no ill will towards Lee. You know, he had the money. I didn't. He got the call. They didn't call me. You got to remember, they did not call me. They called somebody else. So the owners of this machine did not want me to have the bike. That's why they didn't call me. They would have called me back and said, "Hey man, we got this guy over here who will pay us whatever. If you want to beat him by $5 grand or something, it's your bike." I didn't get that call at all. That, I think, is wrong, but that's my opinion. And obviously they thought it was right, or they would have called me. So it's their bike. They can burn it to the ground. That's what they want to do. But thank you, if they're watching, for letting me video this bike and take some photos so the greater world can know that this bike exists. To me, I told them it's a very historic, important motorcycle, and the public should see it. And without them allowing me in to video it, we would not know. It does exist. I was there. You saw the video. It's a very cool machine. See you guys later.